Hello everyone and welcome to the week 5 bootstrap tutorial for the PR5 course. So today we're going to go through this fairly simple tutorial here. I'll just show you in Dreamweaver which the final version will look like. It's like this. And the interesting part about it is what we're going to focus on is nesting columns and offsetting columns. And I'll just show you how that will look. So again, we're going to be working with the breakpoints, large, medium, small and extra small. And we're going to be working with the invisible columns to help us push the text into place, and also when we get to this large breakpoint here, we're going to put a row within a row in order to create this nice effect here where all our media becomes a lot smaller and I think a lot nicer to look at. Okay, so we'll go back to Dreamweaver. So please download all the files, set up a brand new site. As ever, I've got all the links there for you, so once you do that and you map your site, we can just get started. As ever, we've got the viewport and we've got the link to the Bootstrap CSS. We can go ahead and put that into the head of the document. And we take the JavaScript and the jQuery links and we'll put that into the body and just put that down the bottom, out the way. Now to get started, we've already looked at fluid containers and normal containers that contain responsive images. So we're going to do that again just to start to give our page a nice headline. And what we'll do is we'll just start by div class equals container, and within that we'll put an h1 tag, and we'll just close that there and just refresh so we can see it. So we get that space either side because we're using the normal container. Now what we want to do is we want to wrap an image around this. So what we'll do here is we'll make a header class and we'll call that BG image for background image, and then we'll close that after the container here. Now what we'll have to do, I've already made my CSS, so we'll call upon that and we can do some interesting things here. Oh. And we can give it some of Bootstrap's special classes in order to wrap that background image that we're going to just find just now around the entire container. And it's this one here. And we'll now position it. And we'll tell it to cover the entire container by this function there, and the height will make it just 200. And if we refresh, we should have our image now spreading across the entire container there. So if we just preview that file, save, file. We get this really nice effect where the image sits inside the container that we've defined the size of, and also the headline stays in a fairly similar position. Now the next part of the tutorial asks us to make a container to hold our content, and we'll have obviously a row inside that, and then we'll create these 3 columns of 4 just to contain some filler text like we see here, a headline and some paragraph text. So if we go back to Dreamweaver, again I've already made a container with a comment to say where it opens, a comment to say where it closes, a div class row, comment open and comment closing. And as I keep saying, it's good practice to do this, and what I can also do just for future, I can copy that and I can just paste that sort of already. I can use that later on when I do the next section, and I can save a bit of time. So I find that's quite a good habit to get into. So if we refer back to the tutorial, what we have to do is we're going to create our columns. So also good just to indent div class equals col dash, and we'll work on the medium breakpoint, and our 3 columns of 4. Like so. And inside that, what we'll have is a headline and some paragraph text. So what we can do this time only is maybe just copy and paste it from there, and okay, and it's okay to paste just normal text, but if we're pasting code, it doesn't format correctly, so just be careful and try not to get into the habit of pasting the code in from the tutorial, from the PDF, because we'll run into some problems. And it's also a good habit for yourself just to write the code. Okay, so what we can now do is we can just take this section here, Command C, Command V, repeat it, and Command V, repeat. Okay, so just go File, Save, and File, Preview. So we can see we occupy 4 columns. It's a container, so we have this natural space at the side, and once it gets to the medium breakpoint, it will stack upon itself like so. And it's quite nice that the headline here, because we've used a fixed container, so we've used a normal container inside at the head, and we're using a normal container here, so these 2 headlines align up. Now the next part of the tutorial, we're going to make a section below the section we just made there, and we're going to make a div class, a container fluid. We're going to occupy it with the same content, with a headline and just some filler text, but this time we're going to put in an extra column. So we're going to use 4 columns of 3, just as we see here, and we're going to make them respond to the small breakpoint. So what I'm trying to get you to do in this tutorial as well is to look at some of the shortcuts that we can make. So I've already made I've already made the container and the row open and closing. So again, I'll just copy that for the next one, Command C, Command V. I'll put some space in there. And except this time, we're going to use a container fluid. And what we're simply going to do, just for illustration purposes, we'll copy that there, this column, and we can paste it in. Now the only difference is we're going to work on the small breakpoint, and we're going to work over 3 columns instead of 4. So that means we're going to copy this. That's once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So if you look at our page, we should have a section below here with 1, 2, 3, 4 new columns. And if I save that and then preview in the browser, we have this top section here that responds to the medium breakpoint, and we have this bottom section which responds to the small breakpoint. So the medium breakpoint is occupying 4 columns until we get to the medium breakpoint, and that stacks upon itself. And if it goes smaller, just look down here, we are occupying 3 columns each until it gets to the small breakpoint, and then it stacks upon itself. Okay, and we can see again the difference between the normal container, fixed container, and the fluid container. Okay, so good work so far. Now that you have completed this part, what we're going to do is we are going to basically delete all that you have done, and we're going to do something a little bit different. So we can delete all this, refresh, just make sure we've still got our header image in place, and we still have our code saved here, which we'll maybe make another copy of. Control C, tab down, Control V, and we are going to work a new breakpoint, and this time it's going to be the large breakpoint to control our media. Now the first thing we'll do is we'll just put a headline in, out with the row but yet still within the container, and we'll just make that an H1, and we'll simply call that headline. Very creative. And within a row we'll create our columns. So we'll do div class equal col dash lg for large, and we'll work with 2 columns each. Now within these 2 columns, what we'll have first of all is an image, and what we'll do is we'll make an image class, and we'll call that icon just as we did last week. So we can control all 6 images that we'll use with the one piece of code in our CSS properties. Just need to find that image, go to source, click browse, and we'll just choose this first one here, click OK, and we'll just give that an alt, and we'll just say icon. So we've now put our image inside our 2 columns, and what we need to do is we need to style it, we need to give it the correct size. So we've called that icon, so we class of icon, so we call that up here, and we give it a max width of 150 pixels. We give it a margin of 0 top and bottom, which is this 0 here, and then auto left and right. And again, display block. So it's good to do these things over and over, week by week, and we can see how the images respond to these properties, and also just try your own things out to see what kind of results you get. It's always good to experiment and also try it with your own images. Okay, so we'll go back to the source code. So we have within our div class column responding to the large breakpoint, taking up 2 columns. This is our closing tag here. Now within that we'll have an h3 tag and a paragraph tag. So again, if you go down to the tutorial, we can just steal some of that. And that's what I mean where it doesn't properly format. We can see that there. So Control C, Control V, and we just refresh. And that's the properties now have been adopted by that image. Sometimes it doesn't refresh so well, so just make sure you're always saving and refreshing from here. Now what we'll do is we're going to be working across 6 other columns, so we can just paste that once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Refresh, save, and then file, preview in browser, and we should see that image 6 times across the screen. Okay. So just quickly, what we need to do is just to change all the images. I've done them apart from this one. All I need to do is change that and change the H3 text. And we should be able to see all our images, our headings, and we are occupying 2 columns. And when we get to a large breakpoint, which is about 970 pixels, that will stack up like so. Now what we want to do is we want to put in some more breakpoints. So we have the breakpoint at the large breakpoint currently working. We'll now put in a breakpoint for the medium, like so. And we'll just need to repeat that in every class. And preview, and we should see the second breakpoint appearing. So we're now occupying 2 columns each, and we are now occupying 4 columns as we've hit the medium breakpoint. And if we just now move on further, it just stacks up. So what we can now do again is we can put in a further small breakpoint. So we'll now go back into Dreamweaver and we'll put in our small breakpoint, which will take up 6 columns. So we'll just type in call-sm-6, and we can simply copy and paste that into our other column classes. So again, preview in the browser, we're occupying 2 columns each until we hit the large breakpoint. We're now occupying 4 columns each until we hit the medium breakpoint. And now we're occupying 6 columns each until we hit the small breakpoint. And then it just naturally stacks up like so. So our page is looking good. However, one thing that we will want to change now is to try and make use of the space here. We would like to push the text in so it's more centered. So the next thing we'll do is a thing called offsetting the columns. So what offsetting the columns means is that we can push in 3 columns in order that the text starts around about here. We will also tell on the extra small breakpoint that we only want to use 6 columns. So the 6 columns will start round about here and finish round about there. So that means is eventually what we'll do is we'll block off 3 columns by offsetting them here. We will only use 6 columns, so that everything we use will be in the 6 columns on our extra small breakpoint, and that will leave 3 columns left over to also give us the space at the side like we have here. So we'll now offset the 3 columns in the extra small breakpoint, and the way that we do that is to go into our column classes again, and we'll just type in call dash extra small dash offset dash 3. So that's going to offset 3 columns, or push in 3 columns on the extra small breakpoint. And we'll just need to type that in. So all our columns. Refresh file. And we can see that that's now pushed all the media inside our columns up 3 columns. Okay, now the next thing we'll have to do is we'll have to create the same effect over the other side. Now the way that we'll do that is we'll basically tell the browser that when we're in the extra small breakpoint, we'll only want to use 6 columns. So if we've already used 3 here, we'll tell the column classes in the extra small that we only want to use 6 columns, and then we'll have 3 left over, which will basically replicate the space on the other side. So all the media will be centered in the extra small breakpoint. So if we go back now to Dreamweaver, and we get into our column classes, what we need to do is just to type in call dash extra small dash 6. And then if you copy and paste that, oh, made a mistake, call dash extra small 6, Control C, refresh. So that's worked very nicely. So we've offset 3 columns there. We have told the column classes that we only want to use 6 columns, which takes up this space in here, and that will leave us 3 columns left over. Now the next thing we need to do is, when we preview this in the browser, we see that the offset columns we have in the extra small breakpoint also retain or work within the small, medium and large. So what we need to do then is go back into Dreamweaver and add another piece of code into our classes, which is to basically tell the class that when we go into the small breakpoint, we offset 0 columns, like so. So that effectively fixes the problem. So we just copy and paste that. Preview in browser, and yep, that's now working very nicely. So the last part of this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to make quite a complex change here, and we're going to put a row within a row. So what we're now going to do is we're going to look at these sections here. So this is occupying 2 columns, but what we're going to do, when we put the row inside the row, we're effectively creating another 12 column section. So we can take this image here and we can put that in maybe 5 columns, and we can take the text here and maybe put that over 1 column. So we can again use maybe only 6 columns. And what we eventually want to do is to have this effect here. So this will be 1 column, this will be 5 at the large breakpoint, and again we'll offset it either side. So let us now create a row within inside the row. So I'll just start here. And we will close that after here. So there's a row open and a row closing. Okay, now what we can do also, this means we get another 12 columns inside this row. So we want to use 1 column for the image, and we'll use 5 columns for the text. So this means that image will be inside the new row only taking up 1 column, and our other parts here, div class equals col dash lg dash 5. Oh, forgot to put that in here. Okay, now the last thing we'll need to do, if we just keep refreshing, we'll need to make sure that rather than covering 2 columns, this will be over 12 columns. So if I just refresh, Control S and File, Preview, this means that within our row of 12 columns, we are now assigning another row, and this one here is taking up 1 column, and this part here is taking up 5 columns. So again, all we need to do, the next thing, is to offset the columns on the left hand side. So to offset the 3 columns from the left hand side, we just need to find our class that we're going to work in, and we type in col -lg -offset -3, and we'll just refresh the page, file, preview in browser, say firsts, file, and that's now moved in 3 columns, 1 column here, and our other 5 columns. And also the 3 columns on the right hand side, which we are not using. Now before we do that, we're going to fix this text here in the CSS so that it actually aligns better with the height of the image. So what we need to do is we need to go into our CSS, and we'll put this special function here, which was called a media query. So the media query essentially helps us target our properties at a certain size. So we can put in a media query just like so, media, to target the minimum width, which is 1200 pixels. So we can tell the CSS that we only want to change the text. Oh, spelled that wrong. Media. At this size. So again, we open the brackets and we close our curly brackets like so, and within that we can now target only our H3 tag, open bracket, close bracket, and we want this to identify the margin top, and we'll give that a 0 margin. Okay. So the media query is going to identify the large breakpoint and take away the margin at the top of the H3 in order to align it better or perfectly with the image. So if we now just go File Save and File Preview in Browser, our text has now moved up and it's a lot more accurate. Okay, so please just go ahead and change the column widths, etc. of the next 5 sections for me. Okay, so with the magic of editing, we can now see our final page, which is very nice. We've done quite a lot here, quite a lot of complex things. We put a row within a row. We created one column within that row, 5 columns within that row. We offset the left-hand side by 3 columns, and which naturally offsets the right-hand side. We've got the large breakpoint, medium breakpoint, small breakpoint, and we've also offset that within here. So we've done quite a lot of really interesting things. So to move on from this, what we'd like to introduce you more to is to try and build our own pages and be a more contemporary design. So the next class on week 6, what we'll look at is looking in W3C schools and taking more of the functionality within that. We can use forms, we can use a jumbotron, we can do more responsive images, we can look at using the carousel. So if we think back to what we did previously within the prototyping within Vision.app, this is another version to make very quick, stunning websites with a lot of functionality before we actually really develop them. So we've come a long way in the last couple of weeks, and if we can use some of these tools and some of these little tricks we have with some more accurate design, some better looking images and things like that, you will be able to make some fantastic looking websites by the end of the course, and hopefully you'll pass the exam. So that's this tutorial for week 5 done. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all in school soon. Okay, bye bye.